What's up, everybody? I'm so excited for this video, and I hope you are too, but first, if you're new here, smash that subscribe button to join the party. And if you're already part of the crew, show some love with a like. Let's get started.
All right, so today we're going to do a deep dive on Max Verstappen, but not for his on-track performance.
It's definitely off-track stuff today. We're talking penalties.
Exactly, we're going behind those headlines about his work of public interest penalty.
It's a very interesting penalty, that's for sure.
For sure. And, of course, there's that first-lap collision at Abu Dhabi we got to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Lots to unpack there.
There is. I mean, these incidents, I feel like they've sparked this, bigger conversation.
Absolutely, about, driver conduct, FIA penalties.
Exactly, and, what does it mean to kind of hold a world champion accountable?
Right, especially when they're, about to become a dad.
Right, exactly. So it's like everywhere you turn, another Verstappen article. Let's start with that unusual penalty he got, the one for his, shall we say, colorful language.
Oh, right, back in Singapore during a press conference. Yeah, definitely not your typical penalty.
No, not at all.
So instead of a fine, the FIA went with this work of public interest assignment.
Right, which, he has to complete after the season ends.
Correct.
It's so specific, too. It's like working with a grassroots motorsport program. In Rwanda, of all places.
Yeah, in Rwanda, he's basically going to be assisting with this thing with the affordable cross car.
Oh, right, the one developed by the FIA and, is it the Rwanda Automobile Club?
Yep, the RAC.
Okay, so I get, promoting motorsports globally, that's great. But using Verstappen's penalty for this, it feels a little, I don't know, like they're trying to, score some PR points.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I mean, it is a clever way to, use a high-profile driver.
Right.
And yet to shine a light on something positive.
For sure. It's a win-win, in a way. The FIA gets good press, motorsports get a boost, and Verstappen doesn't get fined.
Yeah, true. But it makes you think, will this become, the norm for this kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I wonder how other drivers will react if, they face a similar public interest assignment.
Right. And speaking of reactions, let's move on to Abu Dhabi. Remember that first lap incident with Verstappen and Piastri?
Oh, yeah. That was intense. Almost cost Verstappen a podium in the final race.
The stakes were high, tension was there, and Verstappen, he made a pretty aggressive move on Piastri.
He did. And, of course, there was contact, and they both spun.
They did.
When I saw the replay, honestly, I was like, here we go again, another Verstappen controversy.
Oh, yeah.
It definitely got people talking. Some said racing incident, others said Verstappen was too aggressive.
Right. Classic Verstappen debate.
And of course, it wouldn't be a Verstappen thing without a spacey radio message.
Oh, here we go.
This time he calls race control stupid idiots.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Not the best way to make friends, especially with the FIA.
No, not at all. And this time they didn't let him off easy. 10-second penalty for causing the collision.
Oof.
And get this, 2 penalty points on his super license.
Oh, wow. So for those who don't know, the super license system, it's like a points system.
Yeah.
The FIA uses it to keep track of driver conduct. You get penalized for all sorts of things.
Right. So every time a driver does something dangerous or, unsportsmanlike,
Yeah.
penalty points. And if they rack up 12 points within 12 months.
Race span. One whole race.
That's huge. And with those 2 new points, Verstappen's now at, 8?
Yeah, 8.
Which means he's got to be extra careful next season. Any more slip-ups, and he could be watching from the sidelines.
Exactly.
And that brings us to his interesting comment about getting enough points for, what did he call it, paternity leave.
Ah, yes, the baby ban strategy. He was obviously joking, but you can kind of sense the frustration there.
Well, for sure, with the penalty system. Imagine becoming a dad, and then you have to miss a race because you got too many points for, I don't know, swearing at a press conference?
Right. It's kind of a crazy thought. But before I go any further, let's go back to Piastri for a second, because there's actually a kind of heartwarming part to this whole thing.
Oh, you mean Verstappen's apology? Yeah, that was unexpected, especially after all that heat.
Yeah, it seems like he really wanted to clear the air with Piastri, before they went their separate ways for the break.
He did. He even said that, Piastri's a friend, and he didn't want any bad vibes between them.
Right. Show some maturity there, even with all the competition.
Yeah. And maybe, just maybe, fatherhood is starting to mellow him out. Or, maybe not. What do you think?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. But you know what? Before we jump into the next part of our dive, let's hear what you, the listener, think.
Yes. You've heard our thoughts on all this Verstappen stuff. penalties, the apology, all of it. Now it's your turn.
Head to the comments and let us know, when do you think penalties are justified in Formula One? Too harsh, too lenient, just right? Tell us.
We really want to know your take on all of this. Don't be shy. Share those thoughts. And we'll be back in a bit to dive into that whole baby ban strategy. Plus, we'll explore whether being a dad might actually change how Verstappen races.
Okay, so we were talking about that baby band joke, right? And it kind of makes you wonder, will becoming a dad change how he races?
Yeah, it's a good question. You often see that happen with athletes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their priorities shift when they have kids.
Yeah, maybe he'll be less, I don't know, risky on the track, thinking about his kid at home.
It's possible, but then again, maybe he'll push even harder,
Mm,
to set a good example.
that's true. It's hard to say how it'll all play out. It's a whole new chapter for him.
For sure. Speaking of new things, that work of public interest penalty. Definitely a different approach by the FIA.
It is. And yeah, some
Uh,
people might call it a PR stunt, but you gotta admit, it could really help grassroots motorsport in Rwanda.
Absolutely. The affordable cross-car program seems great, but I'm curious, what actually makes this car affordable? Yeah, good question. What's the difference between that and, say, a go-kart?
Well, it's all about accessibility. The affordable cross car is designed to be, within reach for more people, especially in developing countries. The design is simple, it's durable, and it uses parts that are easy to find. That keeps the cost down.
So it's like the budget-friendly car of motorsports.
Exactly. And you can drive it on different surfaces too, like dirt tracks or paved circuits, so it's adaptable to different places.
Makes sense. And with Verstappen involved, it's like free publicity for the program.
Oh yeah, huge.
Yeah.
They're definitely leveraging his star power. And hey, maybe he'll inspire some young people in Rwanda, Maybe we'll see a future F1 champ from there.
Wouldn't that be something? All thanks to Max Verstappen and his, let's say, colorful vocabulary.
Exactly, you never know. It just shows you even penalties can have positive outcomes.
True. Okay, so we've covered the penalty, the dad jokes, and how fatherhood might change his racing. But we need to talk about those 2 penalty points, the ones added to his super license.
Ah, yes. That brings us back to that tightrope he's walking. 8 penalty points, only 4 away from a race ban.
In your notes, you mentioned you actually disagreed with how harsh the Abu Dhabi penalty was. Can you expand on that a little?
Sure. So Verstappen's move on Piastri, yeah, it was aggressive. But a 10-second penalty A&D, 2 penalty points, I'm not sure it deserved all that.
So you're saying the punishment didn't fit the crime?
Yeah, kind of. And this goes back to that whole issue of consistency with penalties. Are they too subjective? Do they have clear guidelines? It can be frustrating for everyone, drivers and fans alike.
Oh, I totally agree. It's like they're pulling penalties out of a hat sometimes.
Exactly. We need more clarity from the FIA, more transparency. It would make the sport fairer and build more trust between drivers, stewards, and the fans.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And that leads us perfectly into what we want our listeners to think about.
Right. We've gone deep into all this Verstappen stuff. The penalty, the Abu Dhabi incident, the risk of a race ban, and even how becoming a dad might change him. But now we want to know what you think.
Exactly. So, what are your thoughts on the FIA's penalty system? Do you agree with what Verstappen got? And most importantly, what do you think is a fair penalty in Formula One?
Go to the comments and tell us. We want to hear your perspective.
And that brings us to our final thought for all of you. As we head into this new season, remember, Formula One is more than just a sport. It's a story, always evolving, with wins, losses, drama, and yes, penalties too.
And how we understand those penalties, how we see those decisions by the FIA, that shapes our whole experience as fans.
So as you watch the races, as the drama unfolds, keep asking questions, keep learning, and keep diving deep. That's what makes this sport so amazing.
And hey, who knows? Maybe we'll be diving into one of your comments in a future episode. Until then, keep exploring, keep challenging, and keep those engines roaring.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting this channel by hitting the subscribe and like buttons. This will help the channel grow and expand on the journey we have begun together here at AI Meets You.